how are you? Welcome to the Etiquette and Protocol channel. I'm Juliana Santiago, and today I'm going to talk a little more about how you can create a good table setting collection. The first point is to think about why you should have a complete table linen set. You might be asking yourself, why, Juliana? I already have my things and that's fine. Yes, I agree that with the things you already have at home, you can definitely create a beautiful table. But many times, and this has even happened to me, we don't really know how to create combinations. That's why having a basic set for your table setting will allow you to create multiple combinations. In fact, with the pieces I'm going to show you here, you'll be able to combine other things you probably already have in your collection and create prettier, more decorated tables. Your collection and your table settings will become more interesting, and you might ask me which color you should invest in for your pieces. Well, the basic colors for putting together any table linen set are white, transparent pieces and silver elements. So for example, when it comes to table linens, the ideal is for you to invest in white. So tablecloth, placemats, napkins, pieces in white. I also recommend that you buy white plates, and then some elements like cutlery can be silver, and the charger plate can also be silver. And glasses, sometimes the charger plate can also be transparent. I'm going to show you in this video some items I have here that make up a good table setting set. What should you really invest in? And it's like I mentioned before. Having this good table setting set, you'll be able to create an entire composition with this table arrangement. You'll be able to create a very beautiful table setting with this basic set, with this base set that you'll have. But it's much more than that. You'll be able to take the things you already have and use them as well. Because it's a really good table setting technique to make the table look like a real dining table so we can actually have our meal. It's about adding neutral elements, because otherwise the table can end up looking too much like something out of a magazine or a soap opera. And we have to remember that life is real, right? Life isn't like that table setting we see in the store. We need to create a realistic table setting, don't we? Well, the first thing you should think about when buying your basic table setting collection is the table linens. In fact, we're going to divide this list into essential items and non-essential items, things you don't need to buy. If you don't want to, they're not essential for setting your table, okay? The first elements are the table linens, which can be a tablecloth, a table runner, or even placemats. If you want to go for something basic, I suggest you choose white, okay? I really like pieces with Richelieu lace. I think they look very beautiful. In the case of cloth napkins as well, it's essential that you have white cloth napkins. This is actually a very practical item for you to have at home because it's easier to maintain. Unfortunately, cloth napkins, depending on the product you use to remove stains after using the napkin, can get damaged. As for the white cloth napkin, we can use more abrasive products and clean it more easily. Another item that I recommend everyone have in their table setting collection is the famous white plate. I love this model with no details, just plain and white. Of course, it can have some details. Sometimes they have some trim like pink or gold. Those can work too. But a white plate is essential for any home set. It's really good. It allows for multiple combinations. It makes it so you have more pieces, right? Sometimes you're going to have more guests. And then there's a dinner set for 6 people with patterns with a white background. And you're going to have 12 people over at your house, and that set for 6 won't be functional. So you add other white plates, mix them in, which works really, really well. I'm sure it'll expand your collection. Another point that's worth noting as well, when creating your basic set that will work, is to pay attention to the quality of the pieces. Because since these are pieces that can be combined in multiple ways and used in different ways on your table in your home, it's important for you to pay attention to the quality. Just so you have an idea, I've been married for, well, this year I'll complete 9 years of marriage. I got married in 2012. And since I got married, I've had these pieces. In fact, I've had this plate since I got married. I've had this flatware since I got married. This charger too, without giving away what I'm going to say next. So several items that I'm showing here in this video have been with me for 8 years. They're about to complete 9 years with me. So it's essential that you pay attention to the quality of the pieces you're going to buy, okay? There's no point in wanting to buy so many pieces if they don't last as long as you expect them to, right? The essential item for any tableware set is a good set of cutlery. You can check the quality of your cutlery by feeling the weight of a piece of flatware. Especially when it comes to the knife, when you pick up the knife and feel its weight like this, you can tell if it's a quality knife. Continuing with our tableware set, it's important for you to have stemware to complete your set. It can also be drinking glasses, that's fine too. In the case of wine, ideally it should be a crystal glass like this one here. It will be very functional for serving wine. I even believe that if you don't drink alcohol, it's still good to have at least 6 of these in case you have guests at your home so you can serve your guests. This type of glass used to be expensive in the market, I agree with that, but nowadays, more and more, we can find glasses like this for a very good price. There are also promotions, so it's worth keeping an eye out. And we also have the glass for serving water. I really like transparent glasses for creating this basic set, you know? Going along with the colors we've already talked about. But if you don't want to, if you don't like little glasses like this, you can also use a crystal glass for water, or even a regular glass. There's nothing wrong with that. And to finish our list of essential items, I bring the cloth napkin, which I also recommend in white. It's a neutral color, works really well, and there are these models with lace on the edges, which I think are very delicate and very functional. Now, I have 2 elements that are not essential, that are optional when setting the table. There are other elements as well that will be optional for the table setting. But the 2 most well-known are the charger plate, which is this item here. And if you want to invest in a charger plate style, this silver melamine one is reasonably priced and it's very versatile. It will match with a lot of things. It's silver, so it fits into this more neutral color palette. There's also the transparent glass model, but it's a little more expensive. I also really like it. I'll leave a picture here of my model, which I love and use a lot. So, the placemat. Okay, it's not an essential item. We use it more for decoration, but it's not something that's essential for you to set your table. And the napkin ring, okay? Here I brought a pink napkin ring, but regardless of the model, the napkin ring is also not essential for setting the table. It's an optional item. And if you're enjoying this content but want to know more about table setting, want to know more about what a formal table setting is, an informal table setting, want access to decoration techniques that really work, want to know more about these processes and have access to complete content about table setting, well, I invite you to join the Training the Art of Table Setting, an exclusive program taught by me, and it's a complete course on this subject. I'll put the link below. It's the first in the description. And for sure, your participation in this course will advance your knowledge. I hope to see you there. And you might ask me, Juliana, how many of these elements should I have? I want to set the tables, my own table settings, but what is the necessary amount of items I need to invest in? Well, when it comes to table linens, the ideal is for you to focus on the size of your table. So, if you have a table for 10 seats, there's no point in buying a tablecloth for a table with 6 seats, right? It doesn't really make sense. And the same applies to placemats. If you have a table for 10 seats, unfortunately, I don't recommend buying only 6 placemats because when you use the full table, you'll be short. That's why I always suggest you pay attention to the size of your table, how many people it seats, so you can invest in table linens, especially placemats and tablecloths. Napkins are a special item that I recommend you have more of, because if you're going to have more guests at your home, it's ideal to have extra napkins. So, consider the average number of people you usually host. What's the largest number of people you typically host at home? So, more or less, you already know the average number of napkins you need. If you're hosting a gathering with a lot of people, sometimes you don't need to use cloth napkins. You can switch to paper napkins instead. As for the cutlery, plates, stemware, and drinking glasses, it's important that you pay attention to the number of people you're hosting. Determine the average. How many people do you typically host at home? I recommend that you pay attention to this and keep it in mind when you're buying the other items. Because it happens a lot that you see a beautiful piece, buy only a small quantity, because sometimes that piece is more expensive. But when you're going to have guests over, you don't have enough. So the minimum you should buy is always the minimum number of seats you have at the table. So if I buy, for example, a set of 6 glasses that I saw and thought were wonderful, but here at home I have a table for 10 people, and then I want to have 8 guests over, how am I going to set it up? I mean, I could even mix glasses, but it would end up being a mess. And I want you to build a good collection, so pay attention to that. Keep that in mind, okay? You might not take this into consideration, but it's important for me to tell you this because these things come up when you're setting your table. So it's important for you to pay attention to the number of places you have at your table so you can try to work with the minimum number of pieces you need, okay? Sometimes it's better to have more versatile pieces that will work in different situations rather than having just a little bit of everything, because having just a little bit of everything often won't work when you need to complete your table. Okay? And we can keep talking about this here in the comments. What do you think? Comment here with the item you think is essential for a table setting. I really want to know. Comment here. I'll be keeping an eye on the comments. And if you want to know how to set a table, how to create a table, a simple tutorial to get started with table settings, watch the video right here on the side because I'm sure it will help you a lot. I'll be here. Thank you so much and see you next week.